Men have it so easy, they just give you a baby while women die because of pregnancy.
Hello, I'm Jeb. In this video, I'm sharing my thoughts on pregnancy as a weapon for control and how it affects women's lives as I take you through my day.
If I wanted to have children, right now, at 28, would be the perfect time for me, but that is not a path I want. For many reasons, amongst them being I do not desire pregnancy. I don't ever want to have a human being grow in my uterus because I know I couldn't possibly survive the 10-month ordeal. The little crumbs that I get every month during my period are an enough reason to give up on life, and I always have to negotiate with myself to just maybe hold on a little longer for 2 days. And I'm expected to live through a 1,000 words version of this for 10 months and more because it doesn't end at childbirth? For what reason exactly? Pregnancy is a dangerous medical condition, and I wonder why when it's spoken about, this specific term isn't used. It is a condition that impairs your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical well-being. Of course, not all pregnancies are debilitating, but many women experience horrendous symptoms and illnesses that sometimes end with the loss of their lives. There are so many things that happen to pregnant bodies that I wonder why women are being forced to accept this as a divine purpose. Would you accept to get cancer if you were told that going through chemotherapy is a divine purpose that helps advance human technology? Of course, I can almost hear it. It's not the same. It's different. Absolutely not. As long as it's not your body, you have no right to tell someone else what to do with theirs. The weather isn't so appetizing today. It's cold, but it's not raining. But we need the rain because everything is drying up. A few days ago, a certain comment inspired this video actually, because that comment reminded me of many other comments that I'm always hearing. Comments to myself and also comments to a lot of other women. Obviously, both the men and the women do it. I always find it the most shocking when women with children say these comments. This connotation that having children is the only thing that a woman should do, demonizing anyone that tries to want anything different than having children, but most especially peddling this idea that having children for a woman is so easy. It's just something that you should just decide, something that you shouldn't even think about. And I've always found this to be absolutely stupid, for lack of a better word, because this is not buying milk off the shelf of a supermarket. This is about bringing a human being into the world. And when it's women who are actually peddling this idea, it's even more shocking because women are the ones that bear the brunt of childbearing in all ways. It's mental, it's psychological, it's physical. And there are actually older women who have actually said before that they willingly withhold the knowledge about pregnancy from other young women because they say that if they say the truth, a lot of young women are not going to want to have children. But I really don't understand why a lot of these women do not understand that by them withholding this kind of knowledge, they're actually creating more harm than good, because there are so many women that go into giving birth to children without knowing anything. The entire process traumatizes them, so much so that they resent their own children, and that becomes the springboard for a lot of child abuse in a lot of homes. And this is something that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but this is what is happening in a lot of homes. When a lot of women become mothers, they start having a lot of resentment towards their male spouses because they didn't go through a lot of sacrifices to have the child. Are we going to pretend this is not happening in a lot of marriages? And because no one is really encouraged to talk about these things, the relationship starts breaking down. That's why a lot of relationships nowadays are ending up in divorce, because the foundation is romance and love, but once children come into the picture and that starts going out the window, or the relationship changes, because this culture of communication about how children change a relationship isn't there. That is what leads to a lot of these relationships breaking. Instead of starting to look at the root of the problem, a lot of people will be like, oh, women will divorce you. The problem is, and will always be, the underestimating of what pregnancy especially does to a woman. And it's even worse when you have fertility problems, because we know in the society, when you have fertility problems in a relationship, it's always the woman who's always suspected first. And when it's a man, especially in today's day and age, we are not living healthy lifestyles in general, so a lot of men also have very bad quality seeds. And recent scientific research actually shows that having a bad pregnancy is linked to the health of the man, and even miscarriages. So I really do not understand why this is not something that is being openly spoken about. I know on TikTok there's a girl with a list that has a list all the things that happen to women during pregnancy, and it's a very long list. And there are some people who are like, oh, we should not be saying those things because it's going to scare a lot of young women. So would you rather keep quiet, and then when these young women go through this pregnancy and they're traumatized by this experience, they end up abusing their children? Would you rather that? Because that is what we've been having. We have a lot of children walking around with traumas, and yet no one really cares about that. A lot of people unfortunately just care about women having children but don't care about human life. Personally, I really don't have this fantasy of having a child because I don't know. You think it's gonna do what to your life? Because I became a second mother to my own siblings at 5 years old, so I know exactly what goes into bringing up a child, a baby. The only thing that I haven't done is being pregnant, giving birth to a child, or breastfeeding, but anything else, I've done it. And when it comes to pregnancy specifically, I know a lot of people talk about how this is the most beautiful experience. Yes, it can be, but for many other women, that's not the truth. I remember when I was 11 years old, a cousin of mine lost his own wife 6 months after their wedding because of the high blood pressure that she got while she was pregnant. And because for a lot of first-time moms, when they go to hospital, no one takes them seriously when they say that something is wrong. Even women doctors and women nurses, they don't take first-time moms seriously, because they tell you you're just overreacting. This is your first time. You don't know how things are. If you say you're sick, they'll tell you, oh, that's motion sickness. It's normal. It happens to everyone. Cousin's wife went to a hospital. They didn't take her seriously and she just ended up dying. The high blood pressure was caused by the pregnancy. She died 6 months after her wedding. And at that time, she was just about my age now. When men are telling me, oh, I want to give you a baby, I will make you pregnant, that is a threat to my existence. That is not something that I consider a compliment. You are threatening me because you are threatening my life.
Why exactly should women give birth to children?
It's a divine purpose to populate the planet.
The planet, huh? The one where human beings do everything to destroy the lives of human beings? The planet where men create telegram groups where they share with other men naked pictures and videos of molestation of their children, mothers, wives, sisters, girlfriends, and no one does anything about it? The planet where young people can't even afford to live because billionaires have taken over control of everything, and majority of people don't want to do anything about it because they think they are temporary broke billionaires? Call me selfish and I'll call you entitled for not doing anything to ensure that human life is treated with dignity. Call me a bad role model and I'll call you a demon for thinking you have a right to dictate what a woman should do when you haven't, let alone a uterus, but seeds that take root. Some people say that women are equal to men, but why is it that in many countries around the world, when a woman speaks about not following the societal script, she is met with disdain, hate, death threats, and even threats of rape to put her in her place, to shut her up, because apparently she's influencing other women? Why is there an obsession with what women do with their own bodies? The answer is pretty simple. Nobody cares about pregnant women because they carry life. They care about pregnant women because it is the ultimate proof of a woman's submission to a man in society. Men are so obsessed with humbling and controlling women that recently, they don't hide their colors. They say things like, your body, my choice. They even say, if you don't want children, it's not like you have a choice. These threats of violence have moved from locker room talk to social media because we live in a world with increasingly insecure men who see women as a threat. They want women to produce children for them, but they don't want women to be human beings. They want your body for labor, but they don't want you.
I had an idea about the plums and green tea working together because they both have some degree of bitterness, but it just works so perfectly. And of course, the sugar that I added to make the plum syrup, it helps to bring out the sweetness. The other fruit that I added, I would say it was just an idea I had. It doesn't need to be in here, but it's absolutely fantastic. The color though is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? One of the things that I find incredibly fascinating is when I'm having a conversation with a man, and this has happened so many instances that I'm just like, is everyone like this? And it always gets to a point where they're asking intrusive questions about my personal life. They want to know whether I have a husband, whether I'm planning to get married soon, and they always have unsolicited advice about how you should do it now because time is running. Once you get over 30, you're going to be expired and no one is going to want you. They always have this kind of advice when no one has asked. And when I dropped the bombshell that, oh my God, I really do not care for having a man in my life. And most especially, I don't care about having children. So this biological clock that you're talking about, I don't care about. They always just turn into a different alien, for lack of a better word, because all of a sudden the person you are having a conversation with suddenly is attacking you, trying to tell you how you're the worst person on this planet. Because how dare you, a woman, say that you don't want to have children? How dare you go against what God has ordained every woman to do? They'll always try to remind you that, your mother didn't. They'll talk about how their grandmother had 10 children. I'm always like, you're almost there. Do you really think that your grandmother would have given birth to 10 children if she had a choice? Do you really think that your grandmother liked giving birth to 10 children? The fact that a lot of these men are always talking about things as if they know, and yet they know nothing about the experiences of their own mothers and their grandmothers. The way they're always talking about, oh, I want a wife who's like my mother, and yet their own mothers hate the marriages they're in. Their own mothers don't even like being their mothers. But of course, a lot of these men have no idea about this because they do not see women as human beings. That's why they don't even care to be curious about the lives of their own mothers and grandmothers as human beings. They just see them as servants in their own lives. Even when you ask them what they like about their own mothers, they'll be like, I like that my mother cooks for me, does this for me, does this. It's all about what their mothers are doing for them and not really about their mothers as human beings. Because I've really grown up in a male-dominated household, these are things that I've had to experience all throughout my life. It has always been very clear that when you're a woman or a girl, if you're not contributing to the household by doing the house chores and everything else, you're not considered to be valuable. I'm constantly hearing the conversations that the men in my family have about women, and they're always dehumanizing women, and I'm not the kind of fool who's going to be like, oh, they say that about other women, but they would never say that about me because I'm family. No, the same way that they think about other women is the same way they think about me, despite me sharing the same blood. It's just that they just don't have the guts to say those things straight to my face, but I know they say those things behind my back. And one of the things that I'm always being told by a lot of these men in these conversations about me not wanting to be a mother or having a child, they're always like, you need to be impregnated so that you can stop having a big head. Because I've had this for a very long time, it has always been very clear that when it comes to having a child or even getting pregnant, for a lot of men, it's not that they want to have children, they just want a way of controlling women, because they know very well that once you are pregnant, you're in your most vulnerable state, whether it's spiritually, mentally, physically. They can do things to you that you wouldn't be able to protect yourself from. A lot of women experience physical violence with their male partners when they fall pregnant, and this is why it really doesn't make sense to always tell women you should choose better partners, because a lot of men show their true colors once they have locked you in, and that locking you in is making you pregnant because they know that you are never going to be free from them forever. Like for the rest of the life of that child, this person is literally going to make your life hell, and there's nothing that you can do about it, because if you try to cut them off, they're going to say that you are preventing them from seeing the child that they don't even care about, the child that they didn't even want. They only made you have that child because they wanted to control you. There's a reason why speaking about being child-free on social media comes with a lot of hate and backlash, because the majority of these men know very well that if more women become child-free, then the world is going to be in chaos, because a woman that doesn't have children is not easily controlled. And that's why we're always seeing that when a lot of insecure men get into power, one of the first things that they do is try to control women's bodies. And this control is not just about you staying in a relationship that is abusive or detrimental to you because you have a child. It's also about you being submissive to oppressive systems, because you are less likely to try and challenge the status quo if you have a child to take care of, because they've shown you very clearly that if you step outside of what the system tells you to do, you're going to be punished for it. A lot of women don't dare do that because they know that it's not just their life on the line, it's the life of their own children. And so you find that a lot of women with children are the ones that are actually the enablers of patriarchy, because they need the patriarchy to love them so they can be able to provide for their children. And that's how we find ourselves in these oppressive systems and finding that we are never really getting out of the systems. And that's why these people in power will always do everything possible to ensure that women are under control, because they understand very well the freedom of our societies lie with women. That's why they will do everything possible to demonize the woman that wants to be free, the woman that doesn't want to follow the script. These people are so quick to tell you that giving birth to children is your divine purpose, but these are the same people that are molesting children. So do they really care about human life, or do they just care about controlling women's bodies? Will I regret not putting myself through hell to bring life into this planet? I think that's a wrong question. The question should be, will I regret bringing a human life into this dysfunctional planet? Do you also ask parents whether they regret having children? I wonder why as a society we pretend such parents don't exist, yet the evidence lies in so many traumatized and abandoned children who live amongst us, and they end up being traumatized parents that abuse their children, and it's a continuous vicious cycle. We should all stop this obsession with giving birth and start focusing on the kind of world we have created, one where the majority feel suffocated and yet are expected to pretend as if they are fine, even demonized when they are honest about how they feel. If we all put in time and energy to truly think about the sanctity of life, instead of obsessing over control of women's bodies, you wouldn't have to worry about declining birth rates. So maybe instead of wondering how a woman not having children is going to influence other women, think about how you'll hold abuses to account. Think about how you have contributed to the abusive culture of women to a point that men feel so happy and bold to say, "Your body, my choice." Think about how you know your friend is molesting his children, filming himself and sharing those videos on Telegram groups filled with similar men, and yet the best thing you have to say is not all men.